Well, it's time to put a shellac sealer coat on. It's just a quick spray and it just seals the wood, so I can put a uniform stain over the top of that. Well, we're getting to the end of the NightStand project and it's time to apply a finish. This project is made out of cherry, and cherry has kind of unique properties in the way that it takes stain. There's a big difference between the hardwood and satin in the way it absorbs color, and there's a tendency for cherry to become blotchy. And in order to even the tone out when I apply stain, I first put on a sealer coat. And the sealer coat that I've liked to use is this shellac. I got this one is a Zinsser, and it goes on real easy. It's a pre-mixed product. It dries very quickly. You only need one coat of it, and at the end you might give it a really light sand and then clean it off with a tack cloth, and it sets you up for a lot better result when you put your color coat on. Another benefit of putting a sealer coat on is the end grain. The end grain of any wood will absorb the stain a lot quicker than the surface of the wood and be really dark and blotchy. By putting a sealer coat on there, then it helps you put a uniform color on the end grain that more matches the surface of the project. After the sealer coat, then I'm ready to put on some color, and the color that I like to use is a gel stain. In this case, I'm using General Finishes Antique Walnut gel stain. The gel stain gives me a lot of control over putting the color on there. I wipe it on with just a terry cloth and put it on fairly liberally, working in smallish areas. The trick, if there is one with gel stain, is to apply enough as you start and not to let it get away from you. Don't let it get sticky or tacky in any place before you're done. Go ahead and wipe it on and move on towards towards each new area. And as you're moving on, go back and use a fairly clean terry cloth and hit it again with that and take off any kind of blotchy or any kind of excess material or any streaking, and you'll get a really nice uniform finish. If you're not satisfied with the color you got at the end of that process, you can go ahead, let it dry for a while, and come back and apply more gel stain. And in this project, since I'm applying it to cherry, there were some parts of the wood that even with a sealer coat didn't stain quite as dark as I wanted, and I went back and hit those areas. After I put some polyurethane finish on, I'd go back and hit those areas with a little bit more gel stain just to tone those back in with the rest of the project. If there's any surfaces that in general you want a little bit deeper, again, you can go ahead with applying more material after the polyurethane coats and just put it on very thin and make sure you take off any of the excess. Just don't overdo it, because you can always add more. You can't lighten the color, but you can darken the color. So feel free to experiment with it and to try to add more color, deepen the color if you want as you're going on with the finish process. Get those buffed off.
And they did it anyway. They did it anyway. Listen.
Anything that's not with the grain will show up as a pattern, so we don't want that. And then take care of any grain, which can take just a little bit more pressure than the top grain. That's pretty much it for the color. I'll let this dry for a couple of days and put polyurethane on it. Well, we're getting to the end of the finish process, and the next step is going to be to apply a polyurethane. This will be the final coat, the coat that gives it the protection and the luster they're looking for on the end of the project. The material that I'm using is General Finishes. It's a water-based satin finish. It's kind of on the pricey end of finishes, but it goes on real nice. It's really easy to work with. It's got real easy cleanup. It's really a value. It's well worth the price of the product. The number of coats I put on would vary according to the part of the project. In this case, on this NightStand project, the sides will probably get 5 or 6 coats of poly. The top will get the most coats. The drawer fronts maybe the same, nearly the same as the top. For me, getting to about 10 to 12 coats. I think on this one I ended at 12 coats of poly. As I'm applying it, if I feel anything that's kind of a rough surface or has any imperfections on it, I'll be sanding it down lightly. I use 320 or 400 sandpaper and just lightly go over it to sand off any of those imperfections, and then clean it up with a tack cloth, make sure that all of the dust and any residue is cleaned up, and then go ahead and spray it again. I also mentioned when I was reviewing the gel stain process that after a couple of coats, if there's anything that needs additional color, I'll go ahead and apply that color at that time, and then go ahead and spray right over the top of that. So it's really forgiving to combine the coloring and the deepening of the coloring with the polyurethane process.